We think we know what wealth looks like. We track billionaires on Forbes lists, calculating net worth in hundreds of billions. But if you take the wealth of the richest men today and double it, you still wouldn't reach the fortune of one man from the 14th century. His name was Mansa Musa. He was the king of kings, the lord of the mines. Man so wealthy that his morning stroll changed the global economy for a decade. This is the story of how a hidden empire in the heart of Africa became the world's gold-backed ATM, and how its king broke the world. Musa was never supposed to be king. He was a deputy to a visionary, or perhaps a madman. His predecessor, Abu Bakr II, was obsessed with what lay beyond the horizon. He didn't believe the Atlantic Ocean was the edge of the world. In 1312, Abu Bakr II did the unthinkable. He abdicated his throne, took 2,000 ships, and sailed into the dark sea to find the end of the ocean. He never returned. Some say he reached the Americas 180 years before Columbus. Others say the ocean swallowed him whole. But from Musa, it meant one thing: the crown of Mali was now his. Musa inherited a kingdom that was the envy of the world, even if the world didn't know it yet. At a time when Europe was suffocating under the Black Death and endless wars, Mali was breathing gold. 2 out of every 3 gold coins in the Mediterranean came from Musa's mines. But gold was only half the story. In the Sahara, salt was worth its weight in gold. Musa controlled the trade routes. He taxed every gram of salt moving north and every gram of gold moving south. He wasn't just a king. He was the CEO of the global monopoly. Musa was a devout man, but he was also a master of PR. In 1324, he decided to perform the Hajj, the pilgrimage to Mecca. But he wouldn't go as a humble pilgrim. He would go as a god king. He wanted to put Mali on the map, literally. He spent years preparing. He gathered an army of 60,000 people. He took 80 camels, each carrying 300 pounds of gold dust. As the caravan began to move, the Sahara didn't just see a king. It saw a moving city of gold, and the world was about to be blinded by its shine. When Mansa Musa's caravan left the gates of Niamey, it wasn't just a parade. It was a demographic shift. 60,000 men moved as one. Among them were 12,000 personal slaves, each dressed not in rags but in the finest Persian silks and brocade. Every single one of them carried a staff made of solid gold. Behind them followed 80 camels, groaning under the weight of 12 tons of pure gold dust. This was a walking treasury. In today's market, just the gold carried by the camels would be worth over $800 million. But back then, it was enough to buy entire kingdoms. Crossing the Sahara is a death sentence for most. But Musa's wealth defied nature. To feed an army of 60,000, he organized a supply chain that puts modern logistics to shame. It is said that every Friday, wherever the caravan stopped, Musa ordered a new mosque to be built on the spot. He wasn't just traveling, he was colonizing the desert with his faith and his fortune. But as they approached the borders of Egypt, the rumors began to fly. Word reached the Sultan of Cairo that a black sun was, approaching from the west. King so rich, he made the Caesars look like beggars. When Musa arrived in Cairo in 1324, he stayed for 3 months. But his first meeting with the Sultan, Mansa Musa, almost started a war before it started a friendship. Protocol demanded that Musa kiss the ground before the Sultan. Musa, a man who believed he was the shadow of God on earth, refused. He stood firm, his voice echoing through the hall.
The Caliph's representative.
I bow for no man, but Allah alone.
I bow only to the God who created me. In that moment, the world realized that Musa didn't just have more gold than the Sultan. He had more power. Mansa Musa didn't just spend money in Cairo. He flooded the city with it. He gave away so much gold to the poor, to officials, and to merchants that it became common as dirt. He bought every luxury, every silk, and every spice, paying 3 or 4 times the actual price without a second thought. His generosity was legendary, but it had a dark side. He didn't realize that by giving gold to everyone, he was destroying its value. In just a few weeks, the markets of Cairo, Medina, and Mecca began to collapse under the weight of his charity. This is the only time in recorded history that one man single-handedly controlled the price of gold across the globe. By flooding the market, Musa caused massive inflation. The value of gold plummeted. In Cairo, it didn't recover for over 12 years. Think about that. Today, central banks and global governments struggle to stabilize economies. Musa did it by accident, just by walking through a city. He had so much wealth that his charity caused an economic depression that was felt as far away as London and Paris. When Musa realized what he had done, that he had accidentally ruined the economy of his hosts, he did something even more incredible. On his way back from Mecca, he tried to borrow back all the gold he had given away at high interest rates to pull it out of circulation. He became the only man to carry the world's economy on his shoulders. He was the lender of last resort. This move showed that Musa wasn't just a rich man. He was beginning to understand the terrifying power he held over the world. Musa's return trip wasn't just about gold. It was about brains. He realized that an empire built only on gold would eventually melt away. To make Mali immortal, he needed knowledge. He recruited the greatest minds from across the Islamic world, poets, astronomers, and architects, offering them little mountains of gold to follow him back to the heart of Africa. At the center of this cultural revolution was Timbuktu. Under Musa's vision, this dusty desert outpost was transformed into the Oxford of Africa. He commissioned the Jinaba Mosque, a structure so advanced for its time that it still stands today, 700 years later, made entirely of earth and wood. But the real treasure wasn't the gold in the walls. It was the ink on the pages. Timbuktu became a magnet for scholars. At its peak, The University of Sanka housed over 25,000 students. In Mali, the most expensive and prestigious items to own weren't diamonds or silks. They were books. While Europe was struggling to teach its nobility how to read, Mali was producing treatises on astronomy, medicine, and human rights. Musa had created a society where a scholar's pen was mightier than a king's sword. Timbuktu was no longer just a city. It was a legend that would haunt the dreams of European explorers for centuries to come. Mansa Musa passed away in 1337, leaving behind an empire that was the richest and most educated on earth. But gold is a heavy burden. After his death, the inevitable happened. Civil wars, shifting trade routes, and eventually, the arrival of foreign empires hungry for the wealth they had heard of in legends. The Empire of Mali slowly dissolved into the sands of time. The golden cities became myths. By the time European explorers reached Timbuktu centuries later, they didn't find streets paved with gold. They found a quiet city of scholars guarding ancient secrets in the dust. Today, we obsess over the wealth of tech giants and investors, but economists who have adjusted Musa's wealth for inflation struggle to even name a number. Some say for $100 billion. Others say his wealth was indescribable, meaning he owned so much of the global supply that money itself lost its meaning. In 2026, as we move toward digital currencies and a new space gold rush, the story of Mansa Musa remains a warning. He proved that true power isn't just about having wealth, it's about how that wealth changes the world. He didn't just spend gold. He spent it to build a legacy of knowledge that survived long after the gold was gone. The gold of Mali may be scattered across the world, but the echoes of its king remain. Mansa Musa showed us that Africa was never a dark continent. It was the world's brightest lighthouse. And as history cycles back, we must ask ourselves, in a world obsessed with having, what will we leave behind that is worth more than gold? History doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. Thank you for traveling through time with us. Subscribe to Echoes of History to uncover the next legend. Until then, remember, the past is never truly gone.